Okay, guys, I'm going to sneak up from behind. Oh, god damn it. All right, guys, there he is. Shoot. Oh, shit. Guys, communicate. Where is he? Guys, where is he? Fuck. I'm down. Again, I'm down. Never mind. Forget it. Like most people these days, I decided it might be a good idea to try and make a living from Twitch streaming video games. I kept dying over and over. I couldn't get the coordination I needed. These people just seemed to be on a completely different level. No matter how much practice I put in, I just couldn't get good. Until I got Sheath Underwear. Their dual pouch technology separates my package, allowing for better circulation, better movement. It has upped my game tremendously. I'm now in the Call of Duty Championship Finals. Go to sheathunderwear.com, use my promo code RRBG, and save 20% to get yourself a pair of Sheath Underwear and get good. All right. What's up, man? How you been? Mateo. You want me to call you Mateo or M. Von?
Whatever's cool with you, man. It all works. It all means the same thing.
Right. Okay, so Mateo, is that Latino, Hispanic, South American, Filipino?
It's a nickname I was given by some hermanos Latinos back in the my restaurant days. So.
Okay. All right. So your name is Matt?
Yeah.
All right. Mateo. I like Mateo though. It's nice. It adds an element to the name as overall. Like M. Von sounds already interesting, but like Mateo gives it a cultural flair.
It's got a ring to it, right?
All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the RRBG podcast. I am here with Mateo Von Bewitcher of the band Bewitcher. How are you, brother?
Doing all right, man. Feeling try not to feel it too hard, as they say.
Feel it too hard.
I'm a little hungover, but it happens.
Oh no! What were you doing? Celebrating our newly found freedom of masks?
Freedom. Yeah, no, just a couple too many whiskeys after work last night. That it happens. What can you say?
Yeah. Yes, it tends to happen, especially when the weekend is upon us, right? Usually, it used to be the weekend, right? You go drinking on Friday or Saturday. Now it's like we can start on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I mean, in this day and age, I think people are just drinking whenever. It don't matter.
Yeah, the pandemic. I saw the sales numbers, man. We were looking at like double, triple the previous year alcohol sales. I mean, I'm drinking already. What is it? 1 o'clock? Boom! It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Salute to you, brother. So you got some new music.
That we do.
April 16th it came out. So we're a month out. How has the reaction been for you?
Pretty crazy, man. I don't think we expected anybody to like hate it or anything, but the fact that people really love it as much as they do, as they seem to, it's kind of mind blowing, actually, just the response that we've gotten. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah, man. I mean, the product itself, just overall, like the artwork is incredible. Like I'm looking at the painting right now, and it's just I would want that in a frame, in my house. That's what I think shows quality of work for me in a band. Like if you're really putting effort into your overall package, it's worth it.
Yeah, well, we always try to work with really good artists too, and try to get that best possible cover art, because that's very, like you said, it just represents the music. It's the first thing you see when you're in the record store looking for shit, and it just it's important to us.
Yeah, man, I grew up in that era of like vinyl records with amazing artwork, not just like Blue and the name of the band, like it's I like that it creates a story. Metal always has story in its lyrics and its message, and it's just listening to it. It's a journey. It's not just punch in the face. Sometimes it could be, but
yeah, it works both ways. But rock and roll has always been a visual medium and a musical one. So
yeah, and you guys put that out on vinyl, yeah? Yes, limited edition vinyl, 180 gram. Different colors, I'm sure. The splatter, millions of colors. So when I see that you're living the gimmick is what I would call it, because I'm a pro wrestling fan. But like you have the the Bathory flag, the pentagram behind you. It's your life. It's not just You know, because these days you get bands that just come out of nowhere and that have like this satanic imagery that you wouldn't expect it, right? Like even pop stars are embracing it, right?
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about that. Like what got you into that? Like did you grow up in Catholic school? Did you like, what was it that led you to down that path?
Kayfabe, man. Yeah, I think
Break the kayfabe. We're in 2021. It's the new era.
That's right. That's right. Gotta protect the business, brother. Yeah, man. Good call. I was raised Catholic in the Midwest. Andy was as well. He actually went to private school, Catholic school. I grew up in the public sector. So, but we kind of just, I think, being like kids of the 80s and then coming of age in like the mid to late 90s, there was that satanic panic thing that was going on.
Yeah. Don't listen to your records backwards, bro.
Yeah, exactly. The devil's gonna get you. Rock and roll is the devil's music, and it kind of just sticks with you as from childhood.
Hey, thanks for making it more interesting, right? They're trying to scare you away from it, and you're like, nope, you failed. I wanted so much.
Follow me. Put the sticker on the record that tells me which ones have the worst lyrics on them, so I can go buy them.
Exactly.
Saves me the trouble, right?
But yeah. So I mean, what were some of your favorite like records that stood out in your childhood? You were like, the second you saw it, it kind of connected with you and made you want to go buy it and listen to it.
Probably the first. Weirdly enough, the one that probably happened first was like the White Zombie La Sexorcisto album, because that was the hot thing at the time. Just the fact that it was called Devil Music Volume 1, it was very intriguing, you know. And
Yeah,
Beavis and Butthead loved it, so of course it was, you know.
Beavis and Butthead was a big reason why I like metal and rock music for sure.
Good time. Yeah,
Watching
dude,
like Crowbar and shit on there, like what?
Oh yeah, yeah, dude. It's that was how I discovered a lot of my early favorites, you know. Yeah, stuff like AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, anything that was just like controversial and like parents hated it, then of course it's going to be, you know, what a teenage, budding rock fan is going to get into. So that was kind of the early genesis of it all.
In high school, did you find yourself like reading like the Satanic Bible because people said not to? Like I had a bunch of friends that had it and they were like, you got to read it. I'm like, what? Yeah, let me borrow that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you kind of. I mean, I didn't really get into the theistic aspect of it or anything like that, but the LaVeyan kind of philosophy of it and stuff made sense early on. And it, you know, just being in a religious household and stuff, it just none of that stuff ever made sense to me. So pretty early on, it was like I like the idea of seeking freedom, seeking independence, and going after your own path and not really worrying about what the fuck everybody else is trying to tell you to do.
Exactly, man. And you know, it's such a, it sounds like common sense, right? Like be yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be, you know, do things to identify, make yourself identifiable. You know, how is that evil? I don't understand.
Yeah. And I was always a misfit growing up too. So like I was pretty isolated just in general. So there was no club or no clique for me to be a part of. So I had no choice, you know, that's the way I felt.
So how are your parents with this, you know, the band success and everything? And, you know, you see the album and hey mom, look at my new album's out. Like how are they these days?
I mean, they're cool with it. They're super supportive, but they honestly, they don't even care. Like, I'm like, hey, yeah, we signed to this major label and we're like going to tour Europe and we're going, you know, like, she's like, oh, that's nice. That's cool. Nice.
Oh, good job.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I hear it. I hear it. Cause like, as we, you know, I'm glad that there is change because we do kind of need that, right? I think that's ultimately maybe not the goal, but when you're doing this type of music and you're living this kind of lifestyle, like I am too, like that's, you know, I've got walls full of one of my religious buddies was like, hey man, I'm going to come visit with my daughter. Is it cool if she like, is your apartment okay for her to like go? I'm like, nah. I got a ghost poster that's got penises all over it. I got a naked Princess Zelda back there. Like, I don't think you should bring your daughter in here, man. Sorry. I live how I want to live. I'm not living my life to make sure your kids can come over. Like, that's not how I'm designing my walls.
I'm not cutting this place down to PG just to satisfy the kiddies. You know?
Jeez, man, it's such a, we're living in a very difficult time for that too. Like, I've noticed that a lot of people are any small, like, oh, there's a boob on the album, cancel them. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I think this is the time for bands like you and the Bewitchers and you know, to kind of bring back that element of rebellion to metal. Like, we can't be, you know, soft in metal, otherwise it's not metal. I don't think it is, you know, and that's not what I grew up with.
Yeah, well, rebellion is at the heart of rock and roll, and that's what the point was from the beginning. So if you take that out of it, it's like taking the venom out of a cobra, right? What good is it? What is it? You know, it doesn't pose any threat. And not that rock and roll needs to be threatening to everybody, but it needs to be attractive to some people, but it needs to be threatening to others, and that's what makes it. That's what gives it that, you know, that push pull,
that danger feeling, that dangerous feeling. Yeah, man. There's nothing. I mean, I know how for some people at a show, for example, one of your shows, a pit breaks out. You know how some people can be like, "Oh shit," and then, like, that's not. I don't want to be a part of that. But in the other hand, it's very controlled. Like, we're doing that to each other. We know how hard to throw punches in there and how to handle it because we're expecting it, or swings or kicks or whatever is happening, or slamming and pushing and whatnot. Like, it's an act of violence, but it's controlled, and it's like, I don't know, it's primordial, it's natural. Like, we're not trying to kill each other, I don't think, at the end of the day.
It's a cathartic thing, right? You know, you're just releasing. It's a release, and however you choose to do that is cool. It doesn't mean, you know, you can bang your head, you can scream real loud, you can get in the pit, you can drink beers in the back for all I care, but as long as you're having a good time, that's kind of what matters most, you know.
Hell yeah, man. Is that, so when growing up with your religious parents, like, was there a lot of that, like, rebellion kind of mentality of, I want to do what they tell me not to do? Like, I remember around age 15 or 16, that was the first time I like looked at my parents and I'm like, nope. Like, don't do that and come here at this time. I'm like, that's not happening. None of that's happening. I'm going to go do my thing. I'll be back. And we'll continue. So, like, did you have that moment with them, or were they always kind of understanding about, like, the rebellious nature of you growing up?
I think they mellowed out over time. There was definitely that, because I was the oldest, you know, of the three kids or whatever. So, like, you know, they tried really hard with me, and then they tried a little less hard with the next one, and a little less hard with the next one, because they knew you can't just control kids. You got to kind of give them a long leash at least, and just kind of let them do their thing. Yeah. And be there when they need you. And I mean, they did what they could. And like I said, I think it wasn't so much of a butting heads after a while. It became more of like okay,
do your thing.
You're getting older. Do your thing. Yeah,
that's good, man. That's good. So now, you know, we're getting close to, I guess, normalcy. We're starting to see shows, right? Like, festivals are being announced, tours are being announced. Are you guys lined up for something big? Is there something that you're working on that you're excited about, that you want to push, like, concert wise?
Nothing I can talk about in the immediate term, but there are talks and there are plans as we speak. Hopefully we're looking at fall to do some pretty extensive moving around the country. But yeah, man, it's still a little up in the air, but it feels like we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. And I feel also like a weird time is approaching where, like, everything is oversaturated. Like, it's kind of like they just it's like Black Friday for concerts, you know, like, just everybody's rushing out to get on tour, get on the packages, go to the I need to get out. Like, I think it's going to be tough. You know, a lot of people are excited. Oh, it's going to be great. Everybody's going back to business, but, like, that means that there are less spots. There's going to be more business now, more competition, more, you know, tour packages being pushed around. So, are you prepared? Is that something that, like, you're thinking about at all, or do you think it's going to be smooth sailing?
I'm not worried about it at all, because I think when everything stopped, we were in a position where things were really starting to take off, and I think we're just going to pick up where we left off and just go for it. You know, the world sort of suffered this collective trauma for the last year, and everybody's just ready to be over it, and let's just bust out and say, let's just get it on,
Yeah.
And we're ready to be right in the middle of it as soon as it's able to be done.
All right. Well, that's good. Was there any like fantasy tour or show that you've thought of? Like, there's these big shows you think of, like Roadburn or, whatever, Ring AM, whatever, the one in Australia. I forget what it's called. Rock AM Ring. Yeah. Is there one of those that's like your goal, your top goal?
Nah, I don't really have a festival goal. I mean, it would be cool to do any of those, Hellfest or something like that, something big.
Hellfest
but,
would be cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's all good to me. Like, I'm just ready to go. Just put me out there and let's do it,
Yeah. So, have you been able to do anything? Have you gone to a live show? Have you gone to like a sporting event? Have you gone to like a wrestling show?
No, I haven't done anything yet. I probably won't for a while, just because I'm not really like a go out and do that kind of stuff kind of guy, even in the best of circumstances. So at some point I will, but it's nothing yet. Our bass player Andy actually went to a show up in Seattle a couple weeks ago that they put on like the classic social distancing masks kind of show, and it looked a little weird, but
yeah. I don't know. I don't want that. I'm sorry. I appreciate it. Like, good job, guys. Way to put on a show. But I'm not going. I don't want to. If I'm going to a show, I want to smell your BO.
You want the sights, the smells, the tastes, everything.
Yeah, it's a whole experience, man. I don't need this filtered out version. If we got to wait longer, fine. I'll wait longer. Whatever we need to wait for. I just don't want to go into some new weird, everybody in a glass cube, at a show kind of thing. Like, I've seen those too, the big festivals where everybody's separated into like little square cages of like six people. And it's like, no, what? I don't want to do that.
Me and my chick were joking. We should have like big plastic bubbles where you can just like roll around like a hamster,
Isn't that there's a band that does that. There's like the Flaming Lips, right? Isn't that they do like a live show? Yeah, go out in a bubble and like run over the crowd. I'm like, we're gonna all just the whole pit is just bubbles. Everybody just bouncing off each other like bumper cars. So you don't go out too much. So what is it that what do you do at home? Like, what kind of hobbies do you have that, aside from writing music? Like, because I know there's a cycle where you write an album and then you tour, but now the album's done, tour is still kind of a few months off. So what are you doing during this time?
Just focus on like making money, I guess, try to save up a little bit, which is pretty soul crushing because having a job sucks, but it is what it is. Trying to get out in the woods a little bit once the weather gets nice, because Oregon's got a lot of good nature, walking around and that kind of thing. Yeah, man, just kind of focusing on like doing like physical stuff that I've been neglecting forever. So like a little exercise and just trying to be a little more good to myself, a little self-care. You're
gonna need
stuff
it.
Like that.
You need the physical training for when you go on the road again. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
If you're gonna if you spent this entire pandemic on the couch and then plan on going on tour, good luck. 4 days in, you're gonna have fevers and you're gonna like, I can't move. I don't know what's happening. That's good though, man. I'm glad you stayed healthy and active and going out and to the nature, not going out to party and whatnot. But your day job, I mean, you're in a position now where we are all in a position now where you can make money from your craft, like not just on tour and that, but I'm talking about like Twitch streaming and like Patreon stuff that people are kind of making stuff happen on their own more now than ever, which is really cool.
Yeah, very entrepreneurial kind of spirit that's going on with this whole new revolution with using the internet for all kinds of shit. So it's interesting to see how it's all panning out. We haven't really got too far into all that stuff yet, but kind of still doing it the old-fashioned way, I guess. But
there's
probably need to break into the modern era one of these days,
But part of the appeal of your music, I think, is the kind of like I don't want to call it vintage because that sounds dorky, but just like it's got old school feel, old school vibes. The music itself overall just feels old school. The artwork, the logo, everything is very old school, which I like. But I think there is there is a place for, just start doing like some witchcraft ceremonies on Twitch live.
Yeah.
Do you have you dabbled in that world at all? The witchcraft, like for real, like tried it, gone to like ceremonies and read enchantments onto some incense and charcoal and candles.
Any of that stuff that I've ever tried it's always been in a solitary way, so I don't join covens and that kind of thing,
Okay.
But, it's kind of part of my private thing,
Okay.
But,
Okay.
Yeah.
I spent a couple years of that. Like I think it was right around freshman year in high school. The movie The Craft had just come out,
Right.
and I met a girl, and she was like, "I'm a Wiccan." I'm like, "What? Show me." What are you talking about? And then she took me to her den, and it was like, burning incense and like reading these things. Like, at first I was kind of like, "What? This is bullshit." Like, you're just in your house lighting incense. And then one day she brought me over, and we brought over a friend, and we were just hanging out having some drinks, and she started she was like, "You want to see something cool?" I'm like, "Okay." And she started reading some words from a book, and my friend got a nosebleed, and I looked at her, I'm like, "Hey, what?" She's like, "Yep." I'm like, "That's not cool, don't do that." Stop. She's like, "No, it's just a nosebleed, he'll be fine." I'm like, all right, I guess it works.
Gotta be careful with that stuff. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, man. That, my family, I grew up around Santeria, a lot of like voodoo witchcraft stuff too. And, my mom would do all these crazy things at home with cigars and palm fronds and chickens and weird little, like, I found a lemon once that had sticks coming out of it, and it was shaped like a person. I'm just like, "Ooh, what are you doing?" Yeah. And all of it works for them. Like for her, for my mom, it worked. Everything that she set herself out to do worked. So it's very interesting. That whole world interests me a lot, because a lot of people just dismiss it immediately. Like, it's not real. And like myself, even I was like that until I had to see it for myself.
Yeah. It's about harnessing the power of the mind, and the will. And it's just, it manifests itself in a lot of different ways. Like you said, like from different traditions, voodoo, Santeria, whatever it might be, Wicca. But, it really focuses on kind of the same idea. It's the same thing as anybody, a Christian or something saying a prayer,
right,
and getting what they want. It's really the same idea.
It's a different ritual or tool that you're using for the same purpose, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, man. That's I'm really stoked. I gotta tell you that I love the direction the band is going. I think that you guys are going to be playing some big shows very, very soon. The name is getting around. I've seen it all over the place. I mean, you've got 4 albums now, right? Am I right? 3 albums.
Yeah.
What am I looking at? Oh, I was looking at a metal encyclopedia thing. It had like a bunch of other names. I think they're demos.
And other releases and stuff. Yeah.
It's crazy.
But
3 full albums that are out. What was the major label you signed on just recently?
Century Media.
Century Media, right? Century Media. And dude, I mean, they're pushing it. I've seen the name around, and the music's incredible. So, what's the plan for you for 2022? Are you doing another album back to back? Is this, you're going to ride this out for as long as possible, or are you already writing something new?
I mean, I'm always writing stuff, so I won't make any grand statements about when you're going to be hearing any new material, but because that's always a pretty slow process, and I take my time, make sure that everything's right before we bring it to the band, and we kind of do our thing with it. So yeah, we want to get some life out of this record. We feel it's a pretty strong record, so we want to now that touring is a possibility again in the near future, try to get some life out of it, let it breathe a little bit. People seem to be getting more excited about the idea of seeing the stuff live every day. So it's something that we want to kind of get some mileage out of too.
Was the writing for this entirely throughout the pandemic, or were you guys working on this before pandemic and then kind of finished it as it was mid-pandemic?
Yeah, everything was written before the pandemic started. So I think the writing started in like early 2018 is when I started writing songs. And then,
okay.
With all the touring we were doing, everything just kind of took longer because there just wasn't time. We don't write on the road or anything very much. So the finishing touches were kind of put on right as the pandemic kind of started hitting, and then we obviously recorded it during the midst of it all.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so there's no songs about the pandemic or about the virus.
Nah, there probably won't be.
How many bands do you think are going to be putting out albums about this now? Like just
That's exactly why we won't do it.
Yeah, it's all going to like COVID-19 inspired albums, or lockdown. A lot of hardcore albums are going to be coming out.
Lockdown breakdown.
Yeah. Push through the lockdown. Are you watching wrestling? I mean, you've made some references. You sound like you know what you're talking about. Do you still watch wrestling?
I'm a huge mark for like old school wrestling, and I listen to a lot of podcasts nowadays and stuff, but I don't really watch the new stuff because it just doesn't really do it for me, I guess.
Because it's not good. There's not
if I catch anything from modern wrestling, it's from Botchamania or something like that, but that's about it.
I recently got really into Botchamania. I know they've been around forever and I've heard the name, but I'm like, you know what? Now it's part of my weekly wrestling watch. Like I gotta see the fuck ups because they're hilarious.
The video memes are just a work of art, man. I can't get enough of that shit.
There's a lot of editing going on, man. I mean, it's once a week, I think, right? Or once every couple weeks. But you could tell that they're putting in work.
Yeah, and I love the fact that the viewers like all contribute content and stuff with the endings and stuff. It's fun stuff. It's
fun stuff, man. But yeah, I got really into wrestling again thanks to Mark, who hooked us up. Mark Vieira.
Cool.
Yeah. He and I were we met and we started talking wrestling, and he took me to some live local shows. And it made me this, like, I just went and started marking out over the correlation between a local wrestling show and like a local metal show. It's almost the same vibe, There's just
the energy is very similar, yeah.
Yeah, and there's dudes selling shirts, people selling merch off on the side, like it's a vibe, it's a community. So I think there's a lot of connection there too with just that the kind of the spirit of the pro wrestling touring culture and music as a touring culture as well.
Yeah, man, wrestling and rock and roll have had a long storied history together too, so it really makes a lot of sense when you put the two together. It generally works.
What was your number one guy, wrestler or female, back when you were a kid?
Oh, as a kid, I mean, I liked all the top guys. Like I was a Ultimate Warrior fan and like Bogan and stuff. I think over time, HBK and like guys like Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude were probably more favorites of mine. Bret Hart.
Rick Rude, man. Yeah. What perfection of being a bad guy, other than I'm going to make tights that I'm going to wear with your wife's face on them.
And lips on my ass, like.
Oh, yeah, right. And I'm going to do sexy dances the whole time. And, wow.
I didn't appreciate the heel, like, mastery of a guy like that until I got a little bit older. But the fact that he just got, the heat that he would get just by doing like that, like putting somebody's face on his tights, and then ripping them off. And it's good stuff, man.
It's the same. I think that's the same energy that we get from metal. I think it's the same energy that we get from like, comic book stuff, like villains that we see in movies. Because who watches Silence of the Lambs and cheers for Clarice? Like everybody's all about Hannibal, right? Am I wrong? Like nobody. I think that's that appeal that towards that energy. It's the same, that heel energy that metal has, and I think it's better for people to understand that it is what it is and not like pure evil. You know what I mean? Like our parents would think about like satanic metal or whatever. You know what I mean?
You can't have light without dark. So you must, they have to go together. It's yin and yang, man. And like, you can't have, there's no good to be done if there's no evil to fight against, right? So
exactly. I get that 100%, man. That's it's so funny. Yeah, people it's quick to like, let's aim for utopia. Everything's great, and like that's not that. When we get there, something will happen to balance it out. Otherwise, we're all gonna tilt. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a giant tilt. We gotta have the balance.
Goody two shoes, like just like why? Who wants a goody two shoes world? That's no fun.
Oh, dude.
A little bit of evil's okay.
I have these battles with a lot of friends of mine that. They're always cheering for the positive, like they're always cheering for the hero. Like I went to go see Infinity War with the, I don't know if you saw the Avengers movie with Thanos. When everyone was dying, all of the heroes were dying throughout that movie. I was laughing and clapping like, yeah, there he go. And like little kids are crying next to me. I'm just like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Spider-Man went poof.
Shit, little kid.
Little kid. Yeah, dude, but I mean, I guess the reason I bring that up is because there was a time when mainstream media was leaning towards a heavier, more metal culture. I mean, there was a time when Korn and them were running the world, like, then it's shifted into more hip hop kind of, country, whatever it may be. What do you think needs to happen with metal? Like, I'm not to say that we need metal to be at that level, because obviously there's that appeal, but at least respect it. Where if we watch the Grammys, like metal is on the pre-show on during a Butterfingers commercial. Like nobody cares about the industry doesn't recognize metal. So what do you think needs to happen for that kind of balance to shift back and at least be balanced? Metal shouldn't run the world, but it should at least get the same amount of respect.
Yeah, I don't know that it ever will, though, because it's never been taken seriously by the mainstream, other than when it's making a lot of money, and that's the only thing that the industry respects is how much money you make. So,
right.
I
would venture to think metalheads waste more, or not waste, wrong word, spend more money on metal than pop fans spend on their music. I think all of the pop fans, and they all listen to Spotify. Nobody's buying records.
True. But I bet the numbers are probably a lot higher with the pop stuff. So I don't know, man. Like I just think that it doesn't matter. I think metal thrives when it's being held down a little bit. Like when it's in the mainstream and it's huge and it's stadium tours and all this kind of shit, it loses its luster anyways, because like anything that gets that big has to be, it gets corporate, it gets watered down.
They make it more easily digestible.
Yeah, because in order to market to the masses, you have to be a little bit more boring. And to me, like, metal thrives when it's just undistilled, just raw, and as just fiery as it can possibly be. And mainstream kind of takes that out of it.
That's true. I mean, there's still people that will defend all that entire time period of mainstream rock and everything, but I'm with you. I'm with you on the rebellious nature, like we were talking about earlier. Like you said, the fiery nature of it is what makes it appealing. And you do lose that. You look at bands like Metallica, where the first couple records, the first 3-4 records are fire. Like nonstop, fast, like one of the things I remember most about Metallica is paying attention to how fast they would down pick. Like that was, you should have been going up and down. It's easier, but he was, trying to prove a point, I think, by going down. Yeah. That is missing from them now because they got, merchandise to worry about. They're a universe now, the Metallica universe. They're in comic books and shit. Like they're it's a whole different thing now. It's not,
when you come to the world, there's complacency sets in and you soften up a little bit. It's what happens.
That happens. That definitely happens, even on a smaller scale. Like if you find success in life just even a little bit and you start getting comfortable, and your like apartment goes from like, I'm sharing a studio with 7 people to I have my own apartment. Like right. you start to be like, well, now life is nice and comfortable, and you start to be complacent, and you got to make sure you don't fall into that and keep pushing it. I mean, depends if that's what you want. If you want to keep pushing and making more art and more things, you gotta not get complacent.
As D. Snyder once said, stay hungry.
Stay hungry. Well, brother, thank you so much for your time. The album is out now. Cursed by thy kingdom. Bewitcher. It's available. You can buy the record vinyl on their website, bewitcher.us. Also, it's on the Bandcamp, right? Bewitcher.bandcamp.com.
The album is not on our Bandcamp, okay. But you can get it through
So go to bewitcher.us. Yeah, for the record, the variant, the color variant vinyls. But yep. Bewitcher.bandcamp is still up. It has the other records on there.
It has the other records. Old stuff is still up there.
Cool. And if somebody wants to follow you on social media, where do they go?
We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. All that horse shit. So
Do you do like your own
you won't find me. I mean, I have an Instagram, but I never update it. So you're wasting your time if you follow me. But
dude, that's
yeah.
admirable, man. Not a lot of people these days are like that. That's great.
I think it's just a total waste and a detriment to society in general. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, hey, more power to you. I feel that definitely is. It can be a huge detriment. Some people successfully use it as a proper tool, but I also think it definitely messes up people. It's creating a lot of mental health issues amongst the youth. Like, it's not great. So
yeah, it's good for business, I guess.
Yeah, it's good for business. You got to have one for the band, but you don't have to personally pay attention to it. You know.
Yeah. And I do not.
Well, hey, brother, thank you so much for your time. Everybody, go ahead, go pick up the record. I've heard 4 of the tracks, and I loved all 4 of them. So I have to get the names and actually finish the record. I'm sorry, I get like 100 records a day, but I'm trying to keep track of all of them and listen to everything. I get people messaging me all the time. Like, I had 4 different people message me about Bewitcher. Like, get them on. I'm like, yeah, okay. I will do it. I will do it. Fuck yeah, pick up the record, bewitcher.us, and thanks again, dude.
Thank you, man.
Stay
Cheers.
metal. Cheers.